It's 8 o'clock. I'm Sally BURDETT. Good evening. Live from Johannesburg. In your top stories tonight, reaction continues to pour in over US President Donald Trump's land and farm killings tweet. Our government says the tweet was unfortunate. Yet another racism scandal. This time, a member of the ANC Youth League in eThekwini resigns after using the K word. And former President Jacob Zuma shows support for his son Duduzane as his culpable homicide case is postponed. We start here. South Africa woke up to find itself in the centre of a Donald Trump tweet storm this morning. Amidst a storm over his own legitimacy, the US president has raised the alarm over our land reform process.
In the latest social media storm, Trump says Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is watching South Africa closely. He made the comments in response to a Fox News report that expropriation is underway. Fox News anchor Tucker Carlson described the South African government as racist and says it is far more prejudicial than anything Trump has ever done. The channel likened the situation here to violent land grabs in Zimbabwe, where white-owned farms were seized by the government.
We've got an exclusive investigation for you tonight. The president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, has begun, and you may have seen this in the press, seizing land from his own citizens without compensation because they are the wrong skin color.
Even though Trump's tweet is based on the channel's report, it made no reference to farm killings. Earlier this year, lobby group AfriForum visited the US in an attempt to warn investors and fight against what they called racist theft and farm murders. The group's deputy CEO, Ernst Roots, did an interview with Fox anchor Carlson. He used his book, Kill the Boer, to claim government is complicit.
Well, what the book is about is it's about government complicity in the scourge of farm attacks and farm murders that we've seen in South Africa. So we know in the last 2 decades there's been, according to government statistics, which we believe, we have reason to say that it's maybe downplayed a little, there's been about 2 farm attacks every day and 2 farm murders every week in South Africa.
Trump's tweet has been described by critics as an attempt to distract from his own issues. Just this week, Trump's close associates Paul Manafort and Michael Cohen left Americans and the world at large stunned. Manafort, who is Trump's former campaign chairman, was found guilty of bank and tax fraud. On the same day, Trump's ex-lawyer pleaded guilty to campaign finance violations. The US is one of South Africa's biggest trade partners. While it remains unclear what the US will do, AfriForum has welcomed Trump's views. The presidency, however, maintains that Trump is misinformed.
Yes, the South African government has had a measured response to Trump's land tweet. Minister of International Relations Lindiwe Sisulu described the tweet as unfortunate and based on false information. The Communications Minister, Nomvula Mokonyane, says the government plans to deal with the matter in the same way it dealt with the Australian Home Affairs Minister, Peter Dutton. Now, earlier this year, he offered refugee visas to what he called persecuted white South African farmers.
It's not the first time the legislature, we've also seen some of the things that have happened in Australia. We're able to interact, and hence the Minister of International Relations was able to communicate with the counterpart. So we are doing our bit to communicate through GCIS, but also to coordinate through BRAND-SA and our trade missions, as well as foreign embassies on this matter. Nobody is yet calling for anyone to come back home and explain. I think it's a matter we can handle. I'm sure there'll be another tweet before the end of the day today. So we are fine.
Well, the ANC's Jesse Duarte has accused AfriForum of trying to create panic. At AfriForum's Ernst Roots, the man who conducted the interview on Fox News earlier this year, strongly denies that they're creating hysteria around the land issue.
Of course, we're not trying to cause hysteria. There is hysteria because people are targeted. People's private property is being targeted. And we know that that has been tried in Zimbabwe and Venezuela and in the Soviet Union and in communist China and in Cambodia. And in all of those cases, it has failed. So people should be very concerned about what's happening in South Africa. I think someone, are you trying to cause hysteria is sort of, it's not the point.
But strong words for Donald Trump from EFF leader Julius Malema.
Death is the first price we are prepared to pay. The second price we are prepared to pay for this land is poverty. They will close taps. But if there is a conviction, and not sloganeering and public opinions, then we must be prepared for everything. It's a war. We must be prepared for Donald Trump and all of them. We're not scared of them. We remain unshaken. Actually, we are more determined after the Donald Trump tweet to expropriate our land without compensation.
Well, reaction has been pouring in across South Africa, but what kind of reaction has there been in the United States? Our US correspondent Simon Marks joins us live now from Washington. Evening, Simon. Yes, huge reaction here in South Africa. Has it made an impact in the USA? Are ordinary Americans talking about our land issues?
Well, look, it's definitely made an impact, Sally. The land issue is not on the lips of millions of Americans from coast to coast here in the United States, but it is on the lips of more Americans than were talking about it 24 hours previously, and that's partly due to the Tucker Carlson Fox News broadcast, which has a large audience every night on President Trump's favorite TV channel, the Fox News channel, but it's also partly due to the fact that there has been reaction. We've heard from the Anti-Defamation League up in New York within the last couple of hours. They call President Trump's tweet extremely disturbing. They say that it echoes a long-standing and false white supremacist claim. What we don't yet know, though, is what the tweet means. What directions has he given to the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo beyond closely studying the situation in South Africa? We think we're going to hear from the State Department spokeswoman within the hour.
Simon, is there any truth to the rumour that this was time to distract everyone from the very real problems Donald Trump is facing at home?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Donald Trump is finding himself in ever-deepening legal jeopardy, and indeed his jeopardy has deepened over the last couple of hours. There seems absolutely no doubt that this was a concerted effort by the libertarian-leaning Cato Institute, a think tank here in Washington, D.C., and Fox News, to spend some time last night not covering the appalling situation that is engulfing the White House with regard to the president's legal jeopardy, but instead throwing President Trump a bit of a softball with what they called this investigative report on South Africa. And knowing that President Trump would be watching, because he's always watching Fox News, they could be pretty certain that the president would respond.
Thank you so much. Simon Marks coming to us live there from Washington. Well, let's come home to other local news. Former President Jacob Zuma was in court this morning to support his son, Duduzane, where he appeared in the Randburg Magistrates Court. Duduzane is accused of culpable homicide over the death of 2 women in a traffic accident. The matter today was postponed. The Health Ombudsman, Professor Malachapura Makgoba, wants to place the Eastern Cape's mental health services under administration. Earlier this year, psychiatrist Dr. Kiran Sukeri rang the alarm on alleged patient violations at Tower Hospital. Now, the Ombuds investigation highlighted serious challenges in Eastern Cape mental health, but it didn't find evidence of human rights violations, as Sukeri alleged. In fact, the Health Ombud now wants Sukeri immediately suspended. He's accusing him of being misleading and creating what he calls a life Esidimeni copycat phenomenon based on lies. Stay with us here on eNews. We'll be getting the latest from the fallout in the ANC Youth League in Durban over a racist rant. And we'll get your money news. Now, Mateo is not in tonight, but we do still have all the market news. Stay with us. Now, Mateo's not in tonight, so I will run you through the business news. Retailer WOOLWORTHS has reported billions in losses. The retailer reported a worse than expected drop of nearly 18%. It says restructuring at its Australian unit hit the group very hard. Poor performance in its clothing business at home added further further pressure, particularly poor performance, the David Jones clothing line. Overall sales increased marginally by 1.6% to 75.2 billion rand. Of the 5 divisions, Woolworths Food remains the star performer, growing both sales and profit. And now let's take a look at how the markets performed today. Moving now to KwaZulu-Natal, where a member of the ANC Youth League in the eThekwini region has resigned after allegedly using the K word to refer to her fellow comrade. Now, she's also been recorded instructing some Indian party members to practice gatekeeping and not allow Africans to join the Youth League. Sipamandla Goge reports.
Heaven on earth, you cannot beat this.
Mere hours after South Africans are still reeling from Adam Katsavelo's racial rants, another racism scandal hits. In a statement, the ANC Youth League says one of its members racially abused her colleagues. The league names her as Regional Executive Committee member Suzanne Gavenda. She apparently used the K word in reference to a colleague in a private WhatsApp message. The party says it welcomes her resignation. She was later recorded also apparently talking disparagingly about black South Africans.
Do not take their membership. Do not ask them.
In the leaked audio, a woman is heard instructing a fellow comrade to block Africans from joining the Youth League.
I know. Do not recruit African people from Walvida who are heading for trouble.
That's what we must protect.
The ANC Youth League provincial leadership says it's shocked and saddened by the latest scandal.
We have moved with swift speed to ensure that we act accordingly. The member has been suspended, and I've been advised lately that she has also resigned in the RSC. But be that as it may, we are going to institute disciplinary hearing.
Mshengu says the alleged racial outbursts will deepen the already strained racial tensions between Africans and Indians in KwaZulu-Natal. The woman in question was unreachable for comment after repeated attempts by ENCA.
You have reached the voicemail light service of 0.
Sipamandla Goge, Durban.
Let's take a look at international headlines, apart from Donald Trump's tweets. Of course, Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull says he will step down if a majority of lawmakers in his party call for a leadership vote. Now, there's a struggle in the ruling coalition over policy direction. Turnbull has, however, vowed not to, quote, give in to bullies in the face of the new leadership challenge. Former Home Affairs Minister Peter Dutton, an ex-police officer and right-wing conservative, says he's confident he now has the numbers to unseat Turnbull. Pope Francis is set to make the first papal visit to Ireland in nearly 40 years. Sexual abuse scandals have rocked the Catholic Church in recent times. Last week, a grand jury in the US found that 301 priests in Pennsylvania had sexually abused minors over the past 70 years. 500,000 people are expected to watch the Pope say Mass in Dublin's Phoenix Park on Sunday. Let's take a look at our headlines once more, and reaction continues to pour in over US President Donald Trump's land and farm killings tweet. Our government says the tweet is unfortunate. Yet another racism scandal rocks the country, this time a member of the ANC Youth League in eThekwini resigns after using the K word. And former President Jacob Zuma shows support for his son Duduzane as his culpable homicide case is postponed. And finally, with US President Donald Trump firmly in the spotlight, both in South Africa and the United States, the Trump family has inspired a new off-Broadway cabaret show. The show, entitled The First Annual Trump Family Special, opens in New York next month. The characters in the satirical show include the president's children, Ivanka, Donald Jr. and Eric, along with ex-wives, Ivana Trump and current wife, Melania.
Family special, it's a win-win-win. A weekly TV special with the Donalds next to...
Hi. After serving as a judge on The Apprentice and now being a major policymaker in the White House, I was chosen to host our family special. People like it when I say stuff because I'm beautiful and poised.
Hello. I am First Lady of Trump. I built this real estate empire from the ground up.
Donald's younger brother, Eric. Eric, you want to add anything?
Not to my recollection.
Oh. Okay, then. Well, welcome our First Lady. First Lady Melania Trump. Mrs. Trump, do you have any words for our reporters?
Thank you so much. Barack, Sasha, Amelia, and I are so very happy.
From me and the team, it's a very good night.